everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be revealing some extremely exciting news that I recently got, and I'm going to be explaining my reasoning behind a few of the decisions I made. Before I get into all of the good stuff, you probably noticed that the title of this video says Rishma's Rants number 1, and that is because I actually made the original Rishma's Rants number 1 video private because I discussed a lot of the same things in that video, but I didn't like the way that that video turned out, and I thought I could have done a much better job of explaining things, so that is what I will be attempting to do in this video. But anyway, I really hope you enjoy watching this video, and I hope that you take this video as a sign to do everything in your power to change any life circumstances that aren't working for you anymore. So I'm just going to come out and say it. I am transferring out of the College of Engineering at U of M, and I'm transferring into the School of Information at U of M. I will be doing a 2-year Bachelor's of Science in Information degree, so that is what my junior and senior year of college will be made up of. Instead of studying computer science as my major, I will be studying information science as my major, and I will also be minoring in computer science and applied statistics. I'm also thinking of minoring in entrepreneurship because I've already finished the requirements for my 2 other minors, but that's something that I'll be deciding for sure next year. Now, most people will either think that computer science and information science sound incredibly similar, or you'll probably wonder what information science even is, so I will get to explaining all of that in a bit, but first, I want to talk a little bit about why I decided to make this huge change in my life and how I went about actually changing my major. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit scared to disclose all of the reasons why the computer science department at U of M just didn't work out for me, because it's definitely a controversial topic to discuss publicly, but these are all things that I wish I knew before deciding to major in computer science here at U of M, so I'll try to be as transparent as possible. First, I do want to make a disclaimer. Obviously, since I started college in the fall of 2020, my college experience was very heavily impacted by the pandemic, and my first 2 semesters of college were completely virtual, so my college experience probably will not be the same as yours, even if you are in U of M's College of Engineering or if you're majoring in CS or both. The other disclaimer that I'm going to make is that I'm not trying to persuade anyone else to drop out of CS or the College of Engineering at U of M. Again, these are just my own personal experiences, and although I feel like this information is important for others to know, it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing, and I have so many friends in CS who are really enjoying what they're getting out of the program, but it just wasn't the right program for me. And that's not just because I had bad experiences in the program, but it's also because my professional interests have changed quite a bit since the point in time when I decided to major in CS. So yeah, I guess I'll just start explaining where it all started, which was way back in high school. I really don't like thinking about high school because it was just not a good time for me, but basically I used to be a neurotic perfectionist, and I've always struggled with anxiety, but at the time I felt like the only way to properly deal with my anxiety was to try to control every single aspect of my life. I still struggle with this to a certain extent, but back then I was quite literally a control freak, and I definitely fed into toxic productivity and hustle culture. I never took breaks from being productive, and I had my entire life planned out for me in excruciating detail. One aspect of my life that I really got hung up on in high school is financial freedom and financial independence. There were a lot of things about my life that I didn't like at the time, and I wanted to change them, but it seemed like the only way that I could actually change these things is by working my way out, because unfortunately we live in a world where people can't get the help they need unless they have the means to pay for it. So I knew that I was going to have to wait until I had a full-time job, and I also knew that I wanted a college education before I got a full-time job because the most well-paying jobs out there typically require at least 1 post-secondary degree. I also knew that I wanted to spend the least amount of time in school as possible because school negatively impacted my mental health, and it still does. And I also have a ton of phobias and health anxiety that would prevent me from going to med school and becoming a doctor. So I went for the next most well-paying job, which is a computer programmer. I also participated in a coding competition for 3 out of 4 years in high school, and I didn't hate it, and I sometimes even found it enjoyable, so I thought this career was something that I could really get into. I literally just picked computer science as my major because of this, and I didn't really look back until I was well into my time here at college. So fast forward to college and I was struggling. My intro to CS class in college was fine. It was a little rough to adjust to coding at a college level, but other than that, it was completely manageable. My discrete math and data structures classes, however, were the absolute worst. The computer science department here at U of M does this ridiculous thing where they have a set number of seats for each class, but for the first few classes in the CS major sequence, they let everyone in off the wait list in order to allow everyone who wants to major in CS to do so without falling behind on required classes. In theory, this is an amazing policy, but in reality, it means severe understaffing, and this is because they don't hire more instructors when they allow 200 extra students to join a class. This means that if you need help with your code, which you definitely will, there is a very, very low chance that an instructor will actually be able to help you. Office hour lines are literally hundreds of people long, and the projects are so mind-bending that I found them nearly impossible. I did relatively well on the projects, but I spent like 10 hours a day on them, and that's honestly probably an underestimation. I would skip my other classes to do them, and the lectures for my CS classes were usually only tangentially related to the projects. The material was also presented in such a convoluted way, and this is completely unnecessary. CS is a difficult subject to begin with, so there's absolutely no reason to make the information inaccessible. The exams are a whole other issue, and I've always felt like the exams were extremely unfair, but that could be an entire video of its own. The timelines of these classes was also completely ridiculous because we were learning like 20 new algorithms in each lecture, and we were expected to fully master everything by the end of each lecture. On top of that, labs were also graded for accuracy, so there was always like 10 different functions that I was working on at once. Like I said before, I struggle with anxiety, and I've noticed that when something repeatedly goes badly, it becomes an anxiety trigger for me. So whenever there was an error that popped up in my code, it would quite literally trigger my anxiety. And I just know that that never would have happened if these classes weren't set up in such a toxic, difficult way. The people in the CS department are also very toxic because you have the tech bros who love to act as if these are the easiest classes ever and that you are literally stupid if you are struggling in these classes. And you have all the other people who gatekeep coding tricks and professional development opportunities, which is just ridiculous. Everyone is struggling, but no one wants to admit it. If we really want to get more people to code, we need to make it more accessible, and U of M does the exact opposite of this. So long story short, I found the CS department extremely toxic, and at the same time, I was realizing that while I did enjoy coding and other aspects of the technology field, I wasn't really loving computer science, and yes, there is a difference. So coding is more of just the act of programming and building cool projects with code, whereas computer science goes into how the code actually works and all of the mathematical proofs and whatnot. I love building cool things with code, and I will probably be doing that for the rest of my life, but I just am not very interested in mathematical proofs and how each individual data structure works. I've also come to the realization that I love web development and front-end development a lot more than I like back-end development, and on top of that, I've worked on quite a few user interface designs for projects that I've worked on, both for professional companies and for classes, and there's nothing I love more than making a user interface design. So I realized during the winter semester of my freshman year that I wanted to transfer into the School of Information because they have a user interface design program, and they are also more focused on the society aspect of technology rather than the computer science behind how technology works, so that was very appealing to me. I started looking into the process to go about doing this, and it seemed like they were super selective with their application process. Unless you already indicated interest in the School of Information on your original college application to the University of Michigan as a whole. And remember how I said that I was dead set on majoring in computer science and I didn't look back? Well, I thought there was absolutely no way that I indicated that I might want to transfer into the School of Information on my original college app, but then something weird happened. To preface this, I just want to say that I am literally the least religious or spiritual person that I know, but to this day, I have no idea how to explain this without the involvement of some external force, because I know for a fact fact that I only wanted to be in the College of Engineering as a high schooler. So basically I had this super vivid dream, and in this dream I actually did mark the little box indicating my interest in the School of Information, and this was literally one of the most realistic dreams I've ever had. So the morning after I had this dream, I thought it couldn't hurt to email the School of Information and ask them to check if I was on their pre-admit list, and it literally took them forever to get back to me, but it turns out that I actually was on their pre-admit list. Again, I have no idea how this happened because I absolutely did not check that box, in real life at least. But anyway, I went through their whole application confirmation process, which consisted of taking a couple prerequisite classes and writing a few essays, and I officially got accepted to the School of Information a few weeks ago. So yeah, I am just so excited to finally be learning things that I am genuinely interested in, and as of right now, I think I want to have a career in UI UX design because I just enjoy it so much, and I've also received so much positive feedback on the UI designs that I've already made. I'll be starting my School of Information classes in the fall, and I could not be more excited, and obviously I'll be vlogging my entire experience. I'm just so beyond grateful that somehow this all worked out for me. And so I think one of the biggest lessons behind all of this is that life is unexpected, and you can go ahead and plan out your entire life from the minute you were born, but sometimes things just aren't meant to be, and your life could completely change for reasons that you would not have been able to predict. So sometimes it's best to just let go of plans or not plan certain things to begin with, and that's something that I'm definitely still working on, but I'm honestly really proud of myself for making it this far, because a few years ago I never would have had the courage to change my major and take my life in a completely different direction. I also have some exciting news about what I'll be doing this summer. So I actually got a really amazing return offer from the company that I worked with last summer, and they offered me a raise and a promotion. So I accepted, and I had such a good time working at this company last summer. So I'm excited to be back with them again this summer. It was a work from home job last summer, and it's also a work from home job this summer. But honestly, I love working from home, and maybe someday I'll make it into an office. But for now, I'm happy with this position, and I just know that it's going to be an amazing summer. Other than that, I'm absolutely loving the classes that I'm taking this semester too, and I'm working on so many cool things that I just can't wait to share with you all. I am so beyond grateful for all of my circumstances and all of your support, and I'm also excited for all of the new content that's going to be coming your way. So yeah, that is pretty much it for today. I appreciate you if you made it all the way to the end. I really hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you next week.